Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk, coming to you on a Wednesday. We are your between games entertainment on this split doubleheader Wednesday for the Kansas City Royals.
We're essentially rain delay theater today.
We kind of are. We're like the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Dick Van Dyke rerun.
Oh, yeah.
Is Spencer old enough to remember when they would do this? Or do you remember the Superstation era of televised baseball?
No, but I do know what the Andy Griffith Show is.
Okay, so
all right, that's
anyway. By the way, that's Spencer Dupuis.
Hello.
He's our producer engineer today. Trenton Kraxner is in the Great White North. He might be slouching towards Fargo at this point, but he's on his way north for a few days vacation, well earned. That's Brendan Dworzinski across from me. I'm Dan Lucero, and this is 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on video at YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So what they used to do, Spencer, is PBS showed every Braves game. Every Atlanta Braves game. It was Ted Turner's television station.
Okay.
So he owned the Braves, and every Braves game was nationally televised on TBS. Not every. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but for the most part,
140 something.
Yeah, it was 140 odd games, and every Cubs game and the odd White Sox game and the odd Bulls game was on WGN.
Yeah.
And you could just watch those games no matter where you were. The superstations aired the teams that they had those relationships with. So as a kid, I remember watching the Braves on TBS. Had there not been Major League Baseball come to Denver when I was 6 years old, I probably would have been an Atlanta Braves fan for life because I remember watching their games on TBS. I was a big Tom Glavine fan. My life would have been immeasurably better probably had I been a Braves fan. That would have been like 2 rings to 0. Like I think that would have been nice. But unfortunately, there was a hometown team that I was drawn towards. Grafted
they
on.
Grifted you.
Yeah, they have grifted me. They are a grift. Anyway, so when these games would be on the superstations, every now and again, you get a rain delay, right? Like there'd be rain at Wrigley Field. So because those were always the day games. Like, the Cubs played a bunch of their games during the day for many, many
The way it should be.
Yes.
The way God intended.
Real ball. But when you had a rain delay, they had to show something else. And so what they would show now, like when they have rain delays on the regional sports networks, you usually like get reruns of like Foul Territory with Ken Rosenthal and AJ Przinsky, or that
baseball card show.
Baseball card show. I have seen Matt Strom open the same pack of baseball cards.
See, in the DC market with Masson, they would just throw on ESPN News. I don't know how they got the rights to do that or whatever, but it would just be ESPN News, which was funny because when differently, like when we used to have the standard def TV before we had the HD, it would go ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN News,
then
Masson.
So it's like you were on the wrong channel.
Yeah, so there is a few times where you think you're on the wrong channel.
So anyway, WGN TBS did not do that. They would run like the Dick Van Dyke Show or Leave It to Beaver or the Andy Griffith Show. That would be rain delay theater, old black and white television.
You knew watching a Cubs game in the afternoon, if you walked out of the room, came back in and heard you're
not going to try to whistle it? I was going to try to whistle it, and then I bailed.
I can whistle, but I don't know that I can get that many notes. Like I can whistle. I just don't know if I can do that much of it. If you heard that, you knew, okay, I have to make new afternoon plans.
Yeah,
this game ain't going to be on for a while.
It's soggy at Wrigley, and it is time instead to watch Leave It to Beaver. Anyway, that was rain delay theater. Nowadays, today, rain delay theater is just between games theater for the Kansas City Royals, and that's us here on 580 Sports Talk. We appreciate you being along for the program today. We appreciate you listening again, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online, 580WIBW.com. Also, thanks to those watching our live video stream. You can find us on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe to the YouTube today to catch all of our live and archived video programming. You can find us on Twitter, 580 Sports Talk. Find us on Facebook at WIBW News. We are with you until 6 o'clock, at which point we will give it back to the Royals Baseball Network. They have passed the baton to us for 2 hours and change between games. Game 2 of the split doubleheader starts at 6:45 tonight. I have not seen who the Cardinals are going to start on the mound. They are not starting Sonny Gray.
They just said it on the broadcast, and I totally just forgot it.
I also forgot.
Do the official MLB folks have the word here? What do you know about Gordon Graceffo?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Okay, pretty well-regarded prospect, actually, Graceffo.
He's only made one appearance so far, 2.08 ERA, 4 strikeouts.
No, okay, so get ready to learn Gordon Graceffo. He'll start tonight in Game 2 of the doubleheader. I imagine he was the 27th man added for this doubleheader for the Cardinals. Royals will turn to the former Cardinal, Michael Wacha, and go for the doubleheader sweep after a 6-4 win this afternoon. If you're just tuning in and missed any of it, the Royals rally from an early 3-0 deficit to earn the victory in the first of 4 I-70 Series contests this year, the first of 2 today in the Gateway City.
So, real quick, Graceffo will be making his first career start, his second appearance. He appeared in 1 game last month, gave up 1 run, struck out 4, walked 2, went 4 1/3 in relief. He is indeed the 27th man. This
all right.
All reported originally by Katie Wu of The Athletic, since confirmed by Major League Baseball.
Just know that that's what the Cardinals think of the Royals. Their best starting pitcher is Sonny Gray. They would rather throw him at the Chicago Cubs on Friday than throw him at the Royals tonight.
Okay, I would like to bring it up. I know I joked about it yesterday on the show, but you and I were talking about this during the game, Dan. The Cardinals have shown a surprising lack of respect for the Royals in this series. Palante, the starter today, usually if you give up 4 earned runs in a game, you don't make it to the 7th inning unless A, your club just doesn't believe at all in modern pitching analytical models that say, do not face the order a 3rd time through into the 7th inning. You don't want to do it. You either don't believe in that or you have Jordan Lyles on your team and you just don't care. And he's just there to eat innings. Remember when he had that, 4-run complete game last year?
Yeah.
Like, no one is doing that in baseball today. So they leave Palante out there just into the 7th inning to face MJ Melendez. They don't even have the platoon advantage. They just pitched to him and then said, okay, now you can come out. How does that make any amount of sense? They moved Sonny Gray back, who is now going to face a worse offense than the Royals. I get divisional games are important, but how does that make sense?
They love to beat the Cubs. I guess that's what it is.
I'm sure they do, but it's just it's bizarre. By the way, you mentioned his status. I don't have this year's, but I know last year Baseball Prospectus had Graceffo as the number 58 prospect in all of baseball.
Yeah, he's a big deal prospect, and if you're into that kind of thing, it'll be interesting to see how he fares against the Royals lineup later this evening. Royals were winners today. We're going to talk about that, and also we've got plenty more Big 12 football to talk about. Big 12 Media Days concludes today out in Las Vegas. We will hear from the head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks, Lance Leipold. He spoke with the media earlier today. We will play that press conference in its entirety to start the 4:00 hour of this show.
He is too classy to actually take a shot at anyone. The first question he gets asked, I'm just going to tell you this right now. The first question he was asked was about Andy Kotelnicki. Listen to the tone of his voice when he is delivering words that says he does not blame Kotelnicki for wanting something else. Because the tone of voice makes me think, you might not believe what you're saying right here, Lance. But he is too classy of a guy to actually take a pot shot, which I like about him.
Most certainly. By the way, I am just now seeing, speaking of Big 12 Media Days, I am watching a video from the Big 12 Conference's Twitter account that is a outstretched hand reaching out and delivering Totino's pizza rolls to players and mascots. The Arizona mascot just ate a pizza roll. A fist bump and a pizza roll.
So I also saw a picture today of a buffet, the media buffet, and the Houston Cougar Shasta was eating at the buffet.
Yeah, I saw that too.
How
I don't know how
the mascot eat.
I don't know how I feel
know.
about going through the buffet after Shasta.
Dog, you go to any given buffet, you're risking salmonella, E. coli, mad cow, like every disease. Have you ever smelled a mascot?
No,
but I've been up close to one, and I did. Yeah, it's not intentionally. Yeah,
horrific. I remember going to a Blackhawks game one time, and Tommy Hawk, their mascot, his bit is he puts his beak on your head, and you get a picture like, my head was in Tommy Hawk's beak, and then he beat a drum, and it was a whole thing. Worst thing I've ever smelled.
Yeah,
like rotting flesh. It was disgusting.
Someone I know from college. She was the Marshall mascot, DeMarco.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever she would see me on the sidelines or whatever, she'd come and like nudge me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
get off of me.
Like,
Ew.
like you don't smell bad, but
Your costume.
Your
does.
costume
Yeah, you're
smells.
nose blind to what exactly it is that you smell like, surely. Yeah, like those.
That probably rewires your brain after a while.
Like,
Yeah.
there's only but so often you can get those suits dry cleaned, right?
That's like season 1 of True Detective when Matthew McConaughey talking about all the drugs he took when he was working undercover, and now he just like sees things and every light moves. Like that's how your brain must work after you spend a couple years as a mascot.
Seeing the world through that mesh in the mouth.
You're just seeing things, you're smelling things that aren't really there. Just completely messes with your brain chemistry at that point.
Absolutely rewires you. Every interaction with kids is different.
Yeah.
Maybe in a good way. Who knows?
Every time you feel something moving behind you, you freak out.
So we are going to talk Big 12 football on
I
the
bet you
show.
sluggers got some war stories, man. Well, in fact, I've used the Google image search. I know that Slugger has some war stories.
So here's the question I have about the hot dog race. Because there's 3 new people every day, right? 3 new people every day in the hot dog race. Do they get those dry cleaned every day?
Oh, God, no. I would not be surprised if they had multiple costumes. Like, oh, it's round 2. Well, we'll use costumes 3 tomorrow, and then we're back to 1 on Friday.
Yeah, 3 at a max. You got a 4-game series, so 4 sets of ketchup, mustard, and relish dog.
But
Because,
even
man,
then,
imagine putting that on the day after somebody ran a full 200-meter, 300-meter sprint
even if
in
you
one
had
of those things.
3
I know it
sets,
smelled
though,
crazy in there.
even with 3 sets, think of the time of year you're running.
Yes,
I'm sure you
in
get
Kansas City in the middle of the summer.
I'm sure you get greasy McSweaty pits sometimes during the race. Even if you had 3 sets of costumes, that's 27 times each in the beating Kansas City heat.
You think they just hose them out? Just like,
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Just
Yeah.
lay them out.
Industrial dryer.
Just-
Oh, yeah.
Just set the, you got the sprayer, set it to jet, and just go to town.
This is gross.
How did we get to this?
I don't know.
We're
man.
supposed to be
We were
recapping the
gonna
Royals'
talk about
50th
the
Talking
win.
about Shasta, the cougar, eating a freaking pulled pork sandwich. I want to know how it works. You just squish it all over your face. No, some drips through.
You got him in the back. He's sitting on the golf cart like Urban Meyer after that one game he lost, looking downcast, eating a piece of pizza. That's Shasta. He's got the head to his side, just sitting on a golf cart eating a pulled pork sandwich. The Royals won today, 6-4. One game, one in the doubleheader. They were down.
Good day for the offense.
Yes, they were down 3-0. The bottom third of the order ignited things in the 5th. RBI single MJ Melendez, 2-run double for Garrett Hampson. Between him and Nolan Arenado's home run, it was a good day to be a 2018 Rocky at Busch Stadium. And then the big guns took it from there. Salvador Perez go-ahead home run in the 6th. Pair of runs in the 8th, scoring on a sac fly by Vinny Pasquantino and an RBI single by Perez. By the way, that is now 10 sacrifice flies for Vinny Pasquantino. 3 more than anyone else in baseball. I looked it up because I was curious. The single season record for sac flies is held by Gil Hodges, the great Brooklyn Dodger. He had 19 in one season. Something to shoot for Vinny P, Mr. Sac Fly.
Is that a skill?
Contact is a skill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And we know, we have said from the minute he got called up, that is a legitimate skill that Vinny Pasquantino has. He is good at putting the bat on the ball.
And avoiding striking out. And the other thing, too, with Pasquantino is he knows he's not going to beat out a ground ball, right? So he is trying in those spots to elevate.
Yes.
Like, it is absolutely intentional. He is trying with a runner on third and less than 2 outs to hit the ball in the air. And if it goes out of the park or into the gap, awesome. But if it's deep enough to score super fast Michael Garcia and Bobby Witt Jr., then that works too. A run is a run. So, I think it is. I genuinely do think it's a skill that Pasquantino is employing.
Here's a fun fact for you. Last season, because I wanted to see how repeatable this is, like Cody Bellinger led the majors in sacrifice flies last year with 12. In the entire rest of his career, he's only hit 21. He came up in 2017. Very fluky. Will Smith, who has been featured a lot on the show this week, it is apparently repeatable for him. He's led the National League twice in sacrifice flies, but the rest with 11 in 1 year, 12 last year. Other than that, in his whole career, he's only done it 14 times. 3 Royals finished in the top 10 in baseball last year in sac flies.
Huh.
Not Vinny Pasquantino.
Weird.
Michael Garcia, Bobby Witt, and Salvador Perez all had 8 or more last year.
That's funny. It's all about opportunity, right? Like runners have to runner on third in less than 2 outs to hit a sacrifice fly. And Vinny Pasquantino's had a lot of opportunities, and he's cashed them in. That was a helpful insurance run as James McArthur did give up a home run to Paul Goldschmidt in the 9th, but otherwise looked solid in locking down his 16th save.
They need him. They need him to be at least solid. I don't know that he's going to this season be the guy that we think his ceiling can be, but we know we need to see him be better than he has been at times this year. Solid, I will take. I will take solid from James McArthur.
We'll give Christopher the last word in the YouTube live chat with an outstanding limerick. Let's give a shout out to the Blue. They conquered game 1 in the Lou. Salvi hit one to heaven. Marsh set down the last 11. Good outing from him. Now let's go and get game number 2. Again, that's tonight at 6:45. Still to come on 580 Sports Talk. Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, going to join us at the bottom of the next hour. We got What Is Wrong With You, sports headlines, so much more. But we're going to lead off the 4 o'clock hour by hearing from the coach of the Kansas Jayhawks, Lance Leipold, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. This is 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk on a Wednesday. This is our first full hour of the show for you on this Wednesday afternoon as we join you live after a Royals victory. Royals 6, Cardinals 4, game 1 of the split doubleheader at Busch Stadium this afternoon. Game 2, a 6:45 first pitch. That means pregame at 6, and we'll hand you off to the Royals Baseball Network here when we are done on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, and online worldwide at 580WIBW.com. And in living color on video on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, on Facebook, WIBW News, and on Twitter, 580 Sports Talk as well. Watch along, comment in the YouTube live chat. Of course, you can hit us up on the Top City Metal Supply text line. No more wasting money on metal pieces that leaves you with unnecessary leftovers. Top City Metal Supply will cut exact lengths of aluminum, steel, and stainless steel tailored to your project specifications. Start optimizing your budget with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. That's Top City Metal Supply text line, of course, 785-272-9429. I'm Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, and Spencer Dupuis, the crew with you today. Trenton Craxner, our summer intern, is taking vacation. I didn't know interns got vacation.
Look, all I know is I was told right at the very beginning, hey, I'm excited about this. By the way, I'm not going to be here for a week in July. And I said, okay, I'm not okay with that. Then he said, well, I'm seeing Canadian football. And I said, never mind.
Yeah,
you're hired. You're in.
Gave him permission.
In fact, we're promoting.
Gave him permission, right? That's why we let him talk so much.
I found out he knew ball.
Yeah.
And we made sure. Okay. No, that's fine.
So for those watching on the video stream, Trenton Cam is now Spencer Cam, as Spencer is our producer engineer today.
I guess so.
Yeah, we got Spencer in the box on the side, and he is graciously stepping into the producer engineer role while Trenton is gallivanting about the Great White North.
Do you ever miss when we did the video for, first year and a half of video when you could like see up our nostrils?
Right?
You ever miss those days?
Right in our face.
Here's this pimple that I can't get rid of.
I had to exfoliate every day.
Hey, it was the worst for me. I don't know what my angle was, how I sit here or whatever, but we had it, and then I had to move it here, but then I dragged it out. There was no cord left, so sometimes it would like flip like this.
Yeah, and it was kind of up your nose a little bit.
Yeah, hard to get a good
terrible lighting for me. I was washed out the entire time. Yeah, this is we have a much better setup these days.
I'd like to give a shout out to our good friends at the Kansas Department of Transportation and the Drive to Zero Coalition, because when we were told, hey, the Drive to Zero wants to do some work with us, hey, awesome, great news. We're going to put some banners up in the studio so everyone watching online can check it out. Great. That forced us to kind of change things around, and it's so much better. They spurred on very positive change.
They really did. We are, of course, coming to you from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on this Wednesday afternoon. Coming up later on this hour, Tim Fitzgerald's going to join us from Vegas, from GoPowerCat.com. He's at Big 12 Football Media Days. He will join us for Wildcat Wrap-Up on the Fleming Place Wine Spirits Hotline. Get his thoughts on what the K-State contingent had to say at Big 12 Media Days yesterday. We will also have 2 new stories on what is wrong with you, including my story might derail the show today. Very real prospect of that happening. So not that I don't think Spencer has brought a good one today. I haven't read it yet. I'm sure you have a good story.
Did you see the headline at least?
It's a Florida story. It looks like it's going to be good. I haven't read the whole thing yet. But I'm just telling you, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through the second paragraph of my story.
I would like to update everyone real quick before we get to Lance Leipold here in a second. Our summer intern, Trenton Craxner, is listening to the show. Driving up north. Just texted us. We're listening to the show. Watch what you say about me. I have nothing negative to say about Trenton. A, he puts in a lot of good work. B, again, he knows ball. He knows the CFL is a great product.
He does. He's going up to Winnipeg. I suggested to him as we were leaving yesterday, hey, you should go catch a baseball game too. He's like, they got a baseball team?
I actually did not know they had an American Association.
The Winnipeg Gold Eyes. So they play in the American Association. Kansas City Monarchs play in that league. When my brother played in the American Association, this would have been 2014, I believe. 13 or 14. Might have been, I don't remember what. I think he pitched a complete game against Winnipeg. Or was that the game where he got taken like 500 feet by independent league superstar Reggie Abercrombie? I don't quite remember.
What a last name.
Yeah. Reggie Abercrombie played in the independent leagues for like a decade. Played briefly for the Marlins. I want to say for the Giants too.
I don't even recall that.
Hey, you don't forget a name like that. Not easily. Anyway, so we do hope, Trenton, you have a really good time since we know we're talking to you now. We hope you have a great time in Winnipeg, and we'll see you when you get back.
Do you think they called him Fitch?
Reggie Abercrombie?
Yeah.
Unquestionably, yes. Of course they did.
You ever shop there?
No.
Back in its heyday?
What about me gives off the Abercrombie and Fitch vibe?
I don't know. Maybe you went through a phase where you're like, hey, I really want to hang out with the preppy kids.
Hey, you know what? I saw somebody recently. It might have been at a game that I was covering. Somebody had an A87 shirt on, and that threw me back for Aeropostale.
Hey, man. UConn used to wear Aeropostale jerseys for football.
Look, I have, and
I did not know that.
Anybody who has watched the YouTube knows every T-shirt I have ever worn on this show has had some kind of sports logo on it. That has been true about me since I was in like the 6th grade.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, not today.
Do I root for every team whose shirts I wear? Nope. Does it matter? Absolutely not.
When I'm not somewhere in a work context, I am pretty much always wearing a T-shirt and jeans. Sometimes a crew neck sweatshirt and jeans. I have a tweet that I retweet every single year when the Met Gala happens. So if I was at the Met Gala, I would wear a T-shirt and jeans, maybe a hat backwards, and some black Vans. That's what I would wear to the Met Gala. Because that's what I wear every single day, everywhere.
Your signature look.
And it's worked for me.
What would you wear to Vegas? Or what did you wear to Vegas?
I wore a pair of khaki shorts, a T-shirt, black Vans, and a backwards hat.
There you go. We'll have to ask Fitz what his Vegas fit is. Big 12 Media Days have been in Las Vegas these last 2 days. Today was the Kansas contingent's turn to speak.
What?
That included head football coach Lance Leipold. He spoke at the dais earlier this afternoon. Here's his press conference here on 580 Sports Talk.
Well, first of all, it's great to be here today. Thank you all for being here. As I was standing to the side, I was trying to decide did I win a drawing or lose a drawing by following. I think everybody else went to ask the harder questions elsewhere, but we're excited to be here today, looking at how far our program's come in the last 3.5 years, to put ourselves in a competitive position. And, a lot of exciting things happening in Lawrence, Kansas. And, the commitment our university, our Chancellor Gerard, and Athletic Director Travis Goff have made in facilities, staffing, and those things have continued to improve and give us this chance where we're here today. So I'll open up for questions.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take questions. Please raise your hand. We'll get it right over here on the right side, 4th row.
Hey, Coach, over here. Yep. Tyler Budge, CF Budge. This offseason, you lost offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, who had been with you since your days at Wisconsin Whitewater. Could you talk about sort of the impact of losing him off the staff, but also the faith that you have in guys like Jeff Grimes and Jim Zabrowski that have taken over?
Yeah, that's a good question. Andy and I were together for 11 years, and you look at the time in college football today, that's a rarity. And Andy's loyalty and contributions are greatly appreciated. Andy and I had conversations for over a year, and really from the time I hired him at Whitewater, his aspirations to someday be a head coach. And one of the things he felt was in order to continue to grow, he maybe an opportunity to work under someone else would help him grow. So I can't fault him for that. We've had great alignment and loyalty of continuity in our staff as a whole. And yeah, that's different. But I've said it other times today. Jeff Grimes, I thought, did an outstanding job. I look at our first year in the conference in 2021. I think, unfortunately, this year we didn't make it down to Dallas for this event. But Baylor, I think, was picked right above us in standings, and we were 9 and 10 respectively. And Coach Aranda and Jeff Grimes and that staff, won the Big 12 conference. And watching what they did when they played us and other things, I just thought we'd have a good fit. Somebody had knowledge of the conference, and And then when we met, we talked about what we wanted to continue to do. Did we have the right alignment once again? And I feel very confident that we do with Jeff as a coordinator. You mentioned Jim Zabrowski. He was the first coordinator I ever hired at Wisconsin Whitewater. Then he went on with Jerry Kill at Minnesota and then returned to us in Buffalo. So Jim called the bowl game for us last December, did a great job. So I feel very confident that our offense will continue to be diverse and multiple in many things that we're doing and continue to grow. And I think with the returning weapons that we have, that was going to be imperative that we continue with terminology and things that we're doing so the players could continue to operate in such a way.
Kenneth Berry, Touchdowns and Tangents Media. Coach, obviously, you're starting quarterback Jalen. He's had an incredible road, pretty much learning to play quarterback and become a starter as a junior, winning a state title. He has the back injury. How battle-tested is he going into this season, and how do you quantify his leadership status?
Well, again, thank you for the question. Jalen Daniels has been tested in so many different ways through high school, through college, and to persevere and handle it in today's college football world, social media, speculation and all those things. To watch him, on a daily basis, walk in with the smile that he has that lights up a room, stay positive, be there for his teammates, even when he's not available, speaks volumes to me each and every day. It makes me a fan of him as well as being fortunate to be his head coach. So I know he's tested to handle anything from that may come his way. He continues to learn as a quarterback. I think it's well documented that when he's on the field, we are a lot better football team. We can be pretty explosive, and he's the leader there. I feel very good about our quarterback room as a whole, but I continue to look at, and I'm excited to see what Jalen will do this season for us. He's doing everything that doctors, trainers, strength coaches are having him do, and I can't wait to get to August.
Coach Lynn Harrington, Stay Alive in Power 5. How you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
That's good to hear. So to follow up what you were just talking about, with Jalen Daniels, there's no Jason Bean around this time. And like he said previously, Jalen Daniels struggled, staying healthy to make it through the season. How important is it to have two quarterbacks just ready to go, throw to the wolves, just in case anything happens to Daniels?
I think that's a dilemma, across college football. I think we looked, and I don't have the numbers, somebody probably does there, about how many teams played ended the year with a different quarterback than they started with. So it's there. Cole Ballard started a game, was a walk-on last year, started as a true freshman. Cole's had an outstanding off season. I feel very confident in his growth and where his future lies. Isaiah Marshall, Detroit, Michigan, enrolled early, and we're excited about what he gives us as well. So continued development is going to be key, but it's our goal and action, expectation is that Jalen will play every snap he's able to play, dictated by score more than health.
Hey, Lance, Colin Wilson with the Action Network. All 4 Big 12 home games this year will be in Arrowhead Stadium. Does that change the game plan for special teams, kicking, or just prep, field turf, everything?
We're practicing on grass more than we ever have. We'll continue to try to find ways to do that. All our home games, the first 2 are at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City, Kansas. That's going to be different. Gauging anytime you've got to gauge weather conditions as it goes. I think we have an outstanding relationship with the Chiefs, and any other nuances that we need to be aware of, we'll have, we'll be educated on. We have over 30 seniors and guys that have done an outstanding job helping us get this turned around. Part of me feels bad that they don't get to play in Lawrence, Kansas this year, or get a chance to play in the new stadium and its renovated, site. But then there's a part that's excited because much like we pick venues like this to hold media days, we have a chance to play in an NFL stadium for conference football games. And I think the 4 gentlemen that are here today would tell you that that locker room's pretty excited about it. And we're going to have to be ready to go. And it is what it is. We can't control it. I'm not going to slow down the investment that our university has made. So we're not going to use anything that might be new as an excuse, and we're going to find a way to play our best football yet.
We'll stand left side, fourth row on the aisle in the center.
Hey, Coach Leipold, good to see you.
You as well.
So, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but first of all, what's kind of the status right now on Jalen Daniels and his injury? And two, if there are some issues, what kind of is your plan behind that?
Oh, again, I don't know, where you at, Jalen? Help me out, man. Jalen's doing everything, and shoot, all the stuff they do behind over here. I think we got to have them stretch or something before they do all that stuff they video back there as much as they go. I go, if he can make it through everything they're doing to video for pregame stuff, I think he's going to be fine. Like I said, he's doing everything. We've gotten a lot of opinions, all those things. He's doing the throws that he's supposed to be making, all those things. And right now, I put the hands of, each and every day, but I know this, let me back up. I try not to ask Jalen Daniels more than once a week, how is he doing? Because I know everybody asks him that. And of course, it's, just keep wearing a young man out with those questions. I'll be told by somebody if there's anything going on. And for him, just on that part mentally, that he has a chance just to go about his business. He's excited. He wouldn't be here today if we didn't think he was going to be ready to go for this season. I can tell you that. Everything else from that is, I believe our practice format and how we rep players is going to give Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall opportunities, as well as our other quarterbacks, to develop. And I think we've been able, unfortunately, in all 3 years, we haven't played one quarterback the whole time. And as I said earlier, a lot of us go through that in this conference. But, the emergence of and the development of Jason Bean throughout his career was part of that growth and development through playing, but also practicing. And I feel that if there would be an instance that Jalen's not available, the growth of especially Cole Ballard, who got thrown to the fire last year, is going to put us in a good position.
Hi, it's Richard Obey, Playmakers KU. So my question for you made tremendous strides already here at your time at KU. Are you going to be treating this season any different from the ones in the past, as now expectations are much greater for you and so many people came back? There's a lot of people leaving after this season. So is this season kind of a do or die, as some would say?
No, I understand where the question is because it's such a veteran football team. But I think, again, we continue internally to look at it through recruiting and other things as you move on to the next year. And I think this new landscape allows you to continue to stay competitive a lot of different ways. Approach, no, I think, I've said it multiple times. I'll say it again, is my challenge is going to be is that to make sure I want our young men to be confident. I want them to be proud of what they've done. I don't want that to trickle into complacency, though. And that's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to our staff that we continue to do the things in the type of manners that help get us where we are. But also, I think our track record as a staff at our last two jobs, I don't care what level it is, it still goes about how you go about your business. And we were able to build things for consistency. It's not we're going to build it and then you're going to disappear for a while. So that's going to continue to be our mindset, and we're going to approach it in that way.
Coach Leipold, Alex Blackburn, College Football Dogs. What is your relationship like with AD Travis Goff, and how has that fostered a bright future for this Kansas football program?
Great question. I've said this before, is this is the best alignment that I've personally have gone through, from football coach to athletic director and then athletic director to chancellor, that I've ever been a part of. I can't say specifically as an assistant coach, but I would challenge those to, I can remember way back as a graduate assistant, when Barry Alvarez talked about Donna Shalala as the president or chancellor and Pat Richter was the athletic director, and that program was able to take the steps that put it where it is today. Without that, you don't have a chance. And the unique thing that became a tough beginning hurdle, so to speak, at Kansas was Travis was hired just weeks before he hired myself. But the thing is, that partnership and alignment, because we're in it together, allowed us to have conversations and talk about visions and go into it arm in arm that we're going to take this thing on and build something special at Kansas.
Federico Moreno, Kansas Student Radio. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
So
when you have 3 captains that are leaving, what do you look for as a head coach to fill in those leadership voids within the locker room?
Well, first of all, our strength coach, Matt Gildersleeve, does a great job in our off season. Just our player development off-season teams. We do, like a lot of places, you have off-season team captains, you draft teams, you do different things, but there's leadership development things. We've done things to cultivate leadership in anticipation of others leaving, putting them in the roles and responsibilities to make sure some certain things are done within the program. But, some guys, they're better at being really good followers. Some guys aren't as vocal. There are some other things, but when we're fortunate to have 30 plus seniors, we have a lot of guys have great maturity, great understanding. And of course they bought into what we're doing. So they understand that help lead the newcomers into the program. And I feel very confident that we're going to have the type of leadership that we need this season.
That is a confident and enthusiastic Lance Leipold from Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas earlier today.
I got a bunch of new blog content and podcast content to consume, I guess.
Yeah.
There were some media outlets there I've never heard of
College
before.
football dogs.
Touchdowns and tangents.
That's actually pretty clever.
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
But new to me. I not heard of that before. No, good stuff. I mean, that's pretty typical lane.
Yeah.
Like, you've told me for a decade plus you want to be a head coach. Okay, great. And you left my side as my number one, my right-hand man to go to another Power 4 school. You left me to go work with Drew Aller?
Yeah. Yeah, you left
James Franklin?
You left what we're building here to finish 4th in the Big 12, Big 10 every year?
Yeah.
That's tough. I understand why he's not feeling great maybe about that. We got to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, joined us coming up later on this hour. But first, a round of What Is Wrong With You. After this, from the Kansas Drive to Zero studios on 580 Sports Talk. Time for What Is Wrong With You on this Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 2 new stories today competing to take down our current weekly champion, Fast and Furious Ocala, Florida Drift. 2 Florida women who were street racing at 2 a.m. on Friday, going 93 and a 45. One of them had a 15-year-old in the car with her. The other had an 8-month-old in the car with her.
The 15-year-old probably thought it was fun.
I bet he was having the time of his life.
This is the best thing ever.
Maybe the 8-month-old was soothed to sleep by being driven around in the back of the car. Lord knows I've tried that in the short lifespan of my child. Anyway, 2 new stories today. Spencer, take us to Florida.
All right, we're going to Lehigh Acres, Florida. A Florida man with a lengthy criminal background is back behind bars after breaking into a family's home and barricading himself inside. The Lee County Sheriff's Office says a family was in their pool at their Lehigh Acres home when Jose Barbosa entered their home. Investigators say he went up to one of the children and touched their fence before retreating into the home. That's when, according to LCSO, the family climbed a fence and escaped to a neighbor's house. What sounds like gunshots coming from inside the home can be heard on the body cam footage from this article. From deputies responding to the scene, deputies set up the perimeter with the aviation unit monitoring the situation from above. They can be heard giving Barbosa verbal commands. He eventually came out of the house, but deputies said he refused further commands, so they used, quote, less lethal shotgun to hit Barbosa and take him into custody. Investigators say Barbosa helped himself to 2 alcoholic beverages and a bag of chips while he was inside the home. He was charged with burglary, battery, petty theft, and his past arrests are for battery and burglary as well.
Broke in and had a couple pops and some Doritos while he was hanging out in there.
Hey, you see a Fanta and you want a Fanta. It happens.
What a deeply weird guy. All right, guys. Going to Columbus, Ohio, where a Columbus man was arrested early Tuesday following a bizarre string of break-ins at several stores in Hilliard. Matthew Pancake. I knew I couldn't do it.
Matthew Pancake.
Matthew Pancake is accused of breaking into the famous footwear shoe store just after 2 a.m. The police report alleges Pancake, 31, busted out the glass to the front doors of the store. Pancake is also accused of breaking into a Petland store and a Roosters restaurant. Police said 2 hamsters were recovered in the suspect's pants pocket.
What?
Also, when Pancake was found, he was wearing a leopard print onesie.
What?
It is very odd, Columbus Police Sergeant Joe Albert said.
I'll say. Finish this quote.
Obviously, we don't know what this individual is going through.
Same.
Apparently, he tried to set some pets free. Investigators also rounded up some puppies and birds that were discovered outside the store. Some dog kennels were smashed with a rock. A ferret and a bird went missing as well.
Wait, so is he a hero?
Pancake.
He might be a hero.
Pancake has been charged with vandalism, breaking and entering.
I love this note at the end of the story. An earlier version of this story identified the suspect as Michael Pancake. However, the police have since apologized for the confusion over his first name. He is not Michael. He is Matthew. Get it right.
Pancake of the Columbus Pancakes.
Oh, my God.
So he breaks into a Petland, sets some pets free, steals some hamsters, pockets some hamsters in his leopard print onesie, and then breaks into a shoe store.
Jeez, dude.
I mean,
how much meth do you have to be on?
He's been charged with vandalism and breaking and entering, but no drug charges.
I have a hard time believing that.
Yet. Yeah,
he was due in court today. We might get an update on this.
We might. I am eager for a Pancake update.
Me when I'm waiting for my order at IHOP.
Right. Guys,
yeah, this wins.
Yeah,
wins the week.
Yeah.
Like, it would be a great story anyway. The man's name is Matthew.
From the 785 on the Top City Metal Supply text line, Michael Pancake is my father, sir.
Yeah. Please, Mr. Pancake is my father.
I'm trying to find updates, but I can't.
Oh God,
nothing's out there yet.
We're gonna do a Google alert for Matthew
Pancake.
That's our winner. What is wrong with you? Tim Fitzgerald joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. Coming to us following Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas is the great Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joined us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline today and every Wednesday for the Wildcat Wrap-Up here on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz, how's Vegas? You haven't melted, have you?
I about did yesterday. When we walked out of Allegiant Stadium yesterday, you know, it's not like it's cold in here, but it's air conditioned, and it felt like you walked into the oven. It's unbelievable amount of heat. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to stay indoors as much as possible.
Any luck at the tables last night?
I have not gambled. My sidekick Ryan Gilbert has had tremendous. I'm not even going to call it luck because he's winning at poker. It's skill, right, Gilbert? Absolutely. Skill. Yeah, he's done all right. Done all right.
We had cameos on this edition of the Wildcat Wrap-Up.
I know. I can get Lance Leipold. He's like 30 feet from me. I'm staring right at him.
No, give him our regards.
He's doing his breakout session, but here's the cool part is his seat is right above the part of the field where the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's sitting at the goal line in that corner. Right down here. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty cool place, a pretty cool landmark to realize you're standing at. Hey, this is where McCole Hardman caught the Super Bowl winning touchdown pass.
Yep.
How has the Vegas version of Big 12 Media Days compared to the Dallas version that we've kind of come to get to know and love over the years?
Well, the question that I'm really not clear on is, well, first of all, it doesn't seem like there's as much media here. But I think it's because a lot of the media from, the original footprint of the Big 12 just couldn't come. I mean, it was just too expensive. It was $500 a flight basically to get out here. And, So it's hard to tell if the drop-offs because Texas and Oklahoma are gone or because of the location. But it's been a little bit less hectic, crowded. It's one, but this setup, physically for the day is better than Dallas. It's a little bit more compact in the places you have to go and have access to. So it's a good setup here. It's just in an oven. We're having Big 12 Media Days in an easy bake oven.
Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up. We do it every Wednesday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. The K-State contingent spoke yesterday there in Las Vegas. I'll start with Chris Kleiman first. What was the most interesting thing you heard from the Wildcats head coach?
Well, they're always pretty casual here, but when I had a breakout interview with him, I talked about bringing Avery and, having the sophomore quarterback that isn't a returning starter at this thing, and it's rare. And he goes, he's rare. There was no doubt he was coming because he's the face of the program now, and he knows that. The team knows that, and he's built to handle this. And Avery did handle it. He's just a very old soul and just handles whatever's thrown his way. And I think that's as much as anything, aside from the talent, is why he's going to be successful. Is he can really manage his emotions and just handle things in an adult way better than most adults.
Speaking of Avery, what did you think of how he handled the attention, the spotlight? Because that is a rare situation to put any sophomore in. Typically, the Big 12 Media Days contingents, the players are your seniors, your guys who are maybe your captains, your returning captains, and returning starters. Avery Johnson's got one start, and he's a true sophomore. But he was there. What did you think of how he handled himself and dealt with all of the attention?
He did fine. Like everyone else, by the time he got to his breakout sessions, he'd been bounced from interview to interview to interview. We had him for a segment. He's just been all over talking to people, answering a lot of the same questions. So one of the K-State people said, yeah, it's catching up. This has been a long day. He's been talking the entire time. By the time he got to his breakout interviews, he said, it's kind of fading here. But it is. These days are a grind. When you stop and think about each day, you've got 8 schools. So you got 8 coaches, at least 32 total players, if not more. And it all takes place in like a 5-hour period. It's just chaotic for spans of time. And you just got to, try to do what you can do, but you can't be everywhere. So they do kind of overwhelm some of these kids.
Speaking of Avery, one more question about him, because as I've considered and thought about what this league is going to look like, how things are going to shake out in 2024, and yesterday we made our Big 12 season predictions on the show. I picked K-State to win the conference. And the reason I'm picking them to win the conference is because I do believe in Avery Johnson. And I believe in Avery Johnson because it's very obvious how much Chris Kleiman and how much Avery's teammates believe in Avery Johnson. Is that the sense you get talking to, the other K-State players that are there? Because obviously with Chris Kleiman, it's as plain as the nose on his face how much confidence he has in his sophomore quarterback. Do you get that sense from the other players too, that there is that confidence, that excitement in seeing what Avery can do as the full-time starter?
Yeah, you're right. They all lay witness to what he does in practice and how he prepares on a day-to-day basis. They all believe in him. And now he's just got to put it out on the field on a regular basis. And if he does that and keeps improving, he's going to make mistakes. All quarterbacks do, but particularly young ones. He's going to learn from it. And if he can keep improving through the season, he's going to be really special. By November, he's going to be playing at a really high level. Got to keep him healthy, got to keep him protected. And that's a challenge with him. So much of his game-changing ability comes carrying the ball that puts him in peril of injury. So it's going to be a very fascinating balancing act for the K-State coaches to make the most of him without getting him beat up.
We're joined by Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. And how do you think adding Matt Wells to just his offensive role kind of has helped Avery as a player continue to grow?
Well, he's such a good student of the game. He learned from his longtime quarterback coach, and then he had Colin Klein. And to bring in a former college quarterback who's been a head coach and a play caller as an offensive coordinator, that's got to help him. It's just a new set of opinions and maybe a coach that can just tweak some of the things that still were going on with him. But I think from a schematic standpoint, bringing in Matt Wells and some of his concepts could be extremely good for Avery Johnson. I think they're going to really make the most of trying to put defense into, conflict of who's got the ball, where do I go, and that's what this offense is going to be based on. You may not run them, they may not run them, but 10 times a game, but you got to be worried about it every time he puts that ball in the belly of a running back that he's going to pull it out. He's that big a threat.
And moving to men's hoops, it was announced yesterday that K-State's going to make its third appearance in the U.S. Virgin Islands Paradise Jam. They seem to be the cream of the crop in that tournament. What do you think was the reasoning they chose to get into that tournament with the teams that are in it?
Yeah, I thought, look, they want to play in the Caribbean. The coaches are, from the Caribbean, and it's important for them to go back. But, this field's not going to do you any favor, particularly if you lose a game. It's going to be a blemish on your resume. So, I see them taking a little bit safer approach to scheduling this year, at least early on. And, that too is a balancing act. You can have a kinder schedule, but then do you have enough strength to schedule at the season's end to get into the tournament? So we'll see. I'm not so excited about that field. I don't think we'll be going to cover it. So I'm sure they need to win it. It's flat out they need to roll through those 3 games.
Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com is our guest here in the Wildcat Wrap-Up, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline from Las Vegas and Big 12 football media days. Fitz and the gang cover the Cats better than anybody else at GoPowerCat.com. Subscribe today to them at the 24/7 Sports Network. You can find Fitz on Twitter as well, at Life of Fitz. Let's pivot back to football media days. Fitz, Hadley Panzer, one of the Wildcats who was at the event, the product of Lakin, Kansas, and returning talent on the offensive line. And I think a lot of people assume that the K-State offensive line is going to take a big step back this year, given the bold-faced names, including Cooper Beebe, that are going to be missing after graduating. But it sure feels to me like there's more experience and more talent coming back for this offensive line than maybe people outside the program might be willing to give it credit for. Do you get the sense that this is a line that can get to a level that is at least similar and not as steep a drop-off from last season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are guys that, for the most part, have played a lot of football, or they've been in the system for many years, and now they're being called upon to step in. We saw it with Carver Willis last year. It took him a good 3 games to settle into his job, and once he did, he was really good. So we'll see if the training period, the acclimation period, is as long for some of these other guys, but they do have talent. They have been providing depth and learning the game.
Marcus Siegel was there as well. He transferred into the program last year, played a variety of roles in the secondary last season. Do you think he settles more into one role this year? And what do you see his role and his impact on this year's defense being?
Yeah, he's going to be, anchored in the safety spot, and they feel like by end of the season, he was playing really good football. So that's why they're bringing him around and having him, do so much more stuff, because it's going to be a really exciting thing here. I mean, it's going to be fun.
Austin Moore, the linebacker, his younger brother, Ashton Moore, committed to the program today. But Austin Moore also there at Media Days. Do you sense that he has embraced the opportunity to grow even more into a leadership role in that group this year?
Yeah, I talked to him about that. He always said that, he was one of those lead by example guys, and one of the coaches, said, well, that's pretty selfish. You're not really doing anything for anyone else. And so he's been more vocal. He's gotten used to that, and he's a pretty good leader now. And he's much more vocal. He said he's grown really comfortable with doing the things he needs to do as a leader.
Brendan Mott was the 5th Wildcat that made the trip to Las Vegas. Had 6 sacks 2 seasons ago, just 1 sack last year. What needs to happen for Mott to increase his production this season? And what kinds of things are they going to do with him in the pass rush that might unlock some of that ability? Because he's got great motor. I love watching him come around the edge, but the production just wasn't there for him last year like it was in 2022. How do they get back to that?
Yeah, they're going to shuffle some things on that line. They're going to be still with 3 down guys, but I think they're going to bring in a rush end as a stand-up position a little bit more often than they did, and that might be him. He was getting overwhelmed. He was playing on the inside shoulder of tackles, and he's a long guy, but he's not very big and strong. And it just put him into some bad situations where he couldn't really operate. But they're scheming now to free some of these guys up to make plays.
All right, last thing for you as Tim Fitzgerald joins us from Las Vegas at Big 12 Football Media Days. Fitz, what was the Totino's pizza roll situation? Did they have them coming around on like hors d'oeuvre trays, like hot pizza rolls with Philly toothpicks for anyone to take? What was the snack situation this year?
Well, they were actually on the buffet for lunch today.
Okay.
You could have sandwiches and get some pizza rolls.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? I'm in that kind of gap of when the pizza roll was invented. I was already an adult. So, and I didn't get stoned in college, so I wasn't eating pizza rolls. And their marinara sauce in a pocket. I mean, let's be honest here. It was okay. It's good.
Yeah,
but I'm sober, and yeah, it doesn't.
Not a revelation, but not everything needs to be 5-star dining, right?
It needs to have a star.
1 star would suffice. Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com. Gracious enough to take time out of his day in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium at Big 12 Media Days to join us for the Wildcat Wrap-Up on the Fleming Place Wine Spirits Hotline. Fitz, always a pleasure. Safe travels back. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, boys.
That is Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com. Again, in the thick of it, you could tell down there on the floor at Allegiant Stadium. But again, very gracious to take some time and chat with us about what he heard and who he spoke with at Big 12 Media Days. I'm talking myself into Kansas State more and more every day, and that comes from somebody who already picked them to win the conference. Like, I was all in on Utah for a while, but the more I looked at Kansas State, like, the questions that I have about Kansas State are essentially, can they have guys who improve? Can they have guys who develop? And how good is Avery Johnson really?
That's my biggest question is.
And if the answer is he's really good right out of the gate,
then they're winning the Big 12.
Then they can win the Big 12. Yes.
They're going to the playoff.
And they're going to the college football play. Exactly right. Like, if he's that guy, and the way you hear Chris Kleiman talk about him, there's no hedging with Chris Kleiman. There's no hedging with his Kansas State teammates. They are all in behind Avery Johnson. They would have welcomed Will Howard back with open arms if they thought that he was better than Avery Johnson. And Will Howard is damn good. Ohio State laid out a big chunk of NIL for Will Howard. Ohio State haven't beaten Michigan in 3 years. They are desperate. That's what they think of Will Howard. That's how good Will Howard is. And K-State said, I think we've got someone better. So that should tell you all you need to know right there about Avery Johnson. And the more I consider it, the more I consider what's back on the O-line, what's back on defense, experience on defense. Yeah, I get more and more convinced by Kansas State every day. That's going to wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. 5 o'clock hour, we've got headlines. We've got some more Big 12 Media Days to get to, and we'll talk Royals baseball from the Kansas Drive to Zero studios. This is 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Final hour of the day on this truncated edition of 580 Sports Talk. Between games entertainment for you on a split doubleheader Wednesday for the Kansas City Royals. Game 1, a 6-4 Royals win. Game 2 coming your way tonight. Pregame at 6, first pitch at 6:45 from St. Louis. Right here on your home for Royals baseball since 1969. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. I'm Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is our producer engineer today. Brendan Wrzinski is out for the rest of the show, has an appointment to get to. He will be back with us tomorrow. So it's just the two of us. We can make it if we try, and we appreciate you joining us, whether you're listening on the aforementioned 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, terrestrial radio, the old school way. Maybe you're catching us online, 580WIBW.com, or maybe you're watching the show today, where I am very lonely in the studio all alone, and Spencer is in Spencer Cam across the way in the control room.
I mean, we could change it so you're not all lonely there on the big screen.
We could, but then the fans with the plan banner would not be as prominent.
That's true.
And I want to make sure
right.
that our pals, that the Kansas Drive to Zero studio gets the shine that it deserves. Folks, always designate a sober driver or ride share if you plan to drink, if you are out at a game. Go to kansasdrivetozero.com for more information. You don't know what we're talking about if you're not watching us on video, by the way, which you should totally do. If you've never done it before, no better time like the present to check us out on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the channel. Subscribe to the channel. You can see all of our live and archived video content, and you can get notifications to your phone or other mobile device when we do go live, which would have been helpful today because maybe you were out and about thinking, I don't really want to listen to the ball game. Baseball's not really my speed, but I'm excited to hear these guys talk about, Big 12 media days, or I want to hear what is wrong with you. I don't know. I just don't know when they're going to be on the air today because I hear a ball game. Well, if you were subscribed to the YouTube, there had been a little notification on your phone that would have told you when we went live. So that's the perk of subscribing to the YouTube. And then you get to watch us. You get to watch our mouths move and make these sounds that are the words that you hear and hopefully enjoy. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk on Twitter as well, and on Facebook too. WIBW News is the Facebook page. You can watch us over there. You can interact with us in the live YouTube chat. As Paul puts it, it's the best way to intake the show. You can be a smart aleck in the comment section like he is. It is. We love our commentary in the YouTube live chat and invite you to be a part of that. It's a great way to interact with the show. You can, of course, also interact via the Top City Metal Supply text line. That's 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money. Just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. 785-272-9429 if you would like to weigh in. Coming up this hour, we're going to talk a little Royals baseball, get you set for game 2 tonight. Trenton, before he went on vacation, had some interesting research about day-night splits for today's starting pitchers, and Alec Marsh already defied his season-long splits. Maybe Michael Wacha will do the same tonight. We'll talk about that. We will look ahead. We'll tell you who or what a Gordon Graceffo is. That's the Cardinals' starting pitcher for Game 2 of the doubleheader. And do a little bit more recap of Game 1. Again, a 6-4 Royals win earlier this afternoon. 6 strong innings from Alec Marsh, a go-ahead home run by Salvador Perez, and a 16th save of the season for the General, James MacArthur. We'll also get to some interesting headlines from elsewhere at Big 12 Football Media Days, Day 2, down in Las Vegas, including verified connection. There have been some conversations between 2 ACC programs and the Big 12, confirmed by a national college football writer. We'll tell you who and what that's all about a little bit later on in this hour. But we will start this 5 o'clock hour, as we start every 5 o'clock hour here on 580 Sports Talk, with the 580 Sports Talk headlines. And we begin today with big news from the world of international soccer. The United States men's national team is looking for a new head coach. Within the last hour and change, Greg Berhalter has been fired. He is no longer the head coach of the United States men's national team, who failed to qualify for the knockout rounds at Copa America earlier this month. That was a home tournament. Those games were all on American soil, and the United States lost to Uruguay and did not advance out of the group stage for the first time in the history of the United States participating in Copa America. It was also the first time ever that the United States men's national team had been eliminated from the group stage of a World Cup, Copa America, or Gold Cup that it hosted. Any other developed and some undeveloped nation, they fire their national team's soccer coach, and it's all anybody talks about for 24 hours. This ain't that, and that ain't this. So this story will come and go, but it is fascinating to consider the impact of the fans when it comes to this, because these governing bodies, United States soccer, the governing bodies that oversee the international competition in the respective sports, USA basketball, USA volleyball, USA gymnastics, like those, the governing bodies in these sports tend to be very insular and very unconcerned with what everyone else thinks, and really only concerned to some level with taking care of the boys club, so to speak, the good old boys in the club. That's how Greg Berhalter got a second World Cup qualifying cycle to begin with. He was the coach of the last World Cup. The United States made it out of the group stage in World Cup 2022, but were eliminated in pretty short order. And there were a lot of folks who thought maybe he didn't deserve a chance to continue on as coach. U.S. Soccer disagreed, and they kept Berhalter on, and the results didn't really change. And then they got embarrassed on home soil at Copa America. And then the American Outlaws, who are the largest United States men's national team supporters group, issued a statement saying, yeah, we would like the coach to change. And then less than a week later, the coach changed. So, in some instances, the fans do, in fact, have a little power. And that's what's happened here. So not much more to say about it other than that. I have already spoken my piece when the United States was eliminated from Copa America. I don't think firing Greg Berhalter changes a whole heck of a lot about the problems that exist within United States soccer. Namely, the players aren't as good as we think they are. They're better maybe than they used to be. Certainly they're better than they were 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Much more credible international program than it's ever been, but never going to get to the level of like winning a World Cup. And if that's your expectation of the United States men's national team, and you think firing Greg Berhalter gets the United States closer to that expectation, you're going to be disappointed, I feel. So that is one of the big headlines. It's the top story on ESPN.com right now. Greg Berhalter out as the head coach of the USMNT. That's my first headline today. Spencer, what have you got?
My first headline comes from Brett McMurphy in the Action Network.
That's
I
right.
Forget that it's the Action Network. It's just he kind of went from ESPN to like the Action Network. You always forget.
Yes.
Departing Pac-12 schools to play in Pac-12 affiliated bowls. This comes from Brett Yormark in his comments. The 10 schools leaving the Pac-12 will still play in the Pac-12 affiliated bowls the next 2 seasons and not in bowl tie-ins with their new conference. Brett Yormark told the Action Network the former Pac-12 schools will not play in their bowls for their new conference for multiple reasons. Conference and bowl sources told Action Network in February. Action Network reported that the Pac-12 schools will likely remain affiliated with their bowl lineup. Contracts between the conferences and bowls don't end until after the 2025 season, with only Oregon State and Washington State remaining in the Pac-12 in 2024. The 6 bowls with the Pac-12 tie-ins could not be filled without drawing from other conferences. And because of the max exodus, they still needed teams to hold their conference bowls through the contracts that are already made, because they weren't going to X out the contracts. As we already know, the Rose Bowl is now part of the college football playoffs, so it's not part of the Pac-12 anymore. So you're going to see those Pac-12 schools be in their old bowl tie-ins through the next 2 seasons, which are the Alamo, the Holiday, Las Vegas, Sun, Los Angeles, and Independence in 2024, and an ESPN event bowl next year.
I understand why let me rephrase. The only bowl tie-ins I ever really cared about were the ones to the big bowls, right? Like those were the ones that everybody like knew about. Like the average college football fan, like if you walked up to them with a bowl game, or like, hey, quick, who plays in the Bahamas Bowl? What conferences send teams to the Bahamas Bowl? What conference sends teams to the Texas Bowl? Like the average college football fan does not know, does not really concern themselves with that till the end of the year. The one bowl tie-in that everybody knew, though, was that the Rose Bowl was the Pac-10 champion and the Big Ten champion. And that was when things were good and right and just. That was when we had a real proper country. When the Pac-10 and the Big Ten played in Pasadena on New Year's Day at sunset. We have strayed so far from God's light. Anyway, I had to do a little old man yelling at cloud in regard to that. When you brought it up, that there's the Rose Bowl tie-in that no longer exists for the old Pac-12 schools, which would have been very funny. Like Utah just takes the Rose Bowl. Utah goes out, wins the conference, and they say, "Nah, we don't want to play in the Big 12 bowl game. We want to play in the Pac-12 bowl game. We go to Pasadena. We want to play in the Rose Bowl again." But now you can't. Now it's not an option unless you qualify for it through the playoff. Dumb. Anyway, next headline for me. This was a particularly ugly story that broke last year, and there have been further developments now in the story of Tampa Bay Rays shortstop Wander Franco. We cannot yet call him former Tampa Bay Rays shortstop. He has been placed on the restricted list by Major League Baseball. He had previously been on administrative leave. What changed is that he has now been formally charged in his home country of the Dominican Republic with sexual abuse, sexual exploitation against a minor, and human trafficking. After prosecutors spent more than 6 months building a case against him, these charges carry a potential sentence of up to 20 years. While Franco had been on administrative leave, which he was placed on towards the end of last season, he was paid by the Rays. And this is a deal that gets brokered by Major League Baseball and the Players Association that protects players while charges may be pending but have not been formally filed. Now that charges have been filed, administrative leave has ended, and the Rays have requested that Franco be placed on the restricted list. He will not be paid, and he will not receive Major League service time. The evidence that prosecutors have gathered, according to a 600-page document obtained by ESPN, suggests that Franco started a relationship with a 14-year-old girl when he was 21, paid the girl's mother $1,700 a month, and gave the girl's mother a new car. The girl's mother has also been charged by Dominican authorities with money laundering. Franco is one of the brightest young talents in Major League Baseball prior to his involvement in this case. He made his first All-Star team last year, probably his last, and signed an 11-year, $182 million contract less than a year into his Major League career back in November of 2021. Obviously, all of those things pale in comparison to what has happened to the alleged victim in this case, and it becomes more and more apparent with every detail in this story and now the charges being filed that we are never going to see Wander Franco play Major League Baseball again. And it is one of the all-time, not that this matters, but it is one of the all-time wastes of talent in the history of professional sports.
Yeah, it is.
Next headline.
All right. The NBA has finalized media rights deals with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon. Yes, you didn't hear TNT Sports. The deal covers 11 years, worth $78 billion in total, which still allows TNT Sports to their right to match the contracts. As of 2 hours ago, they didn't have any contracts in front of them to match yet. At that point, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav and TNT will have roughly 5 days to match one of the offers or wave the NBA goodbye after the 40-plus year relationship.
So in this deal, which, by the way, these deals with NBC, Amazon, and ESPN are reported to be worth $76 billion. Not million, $76 billion. The old agreements paid $2.7 billion annually. These are going to pay close to $7 billion annually. Starting in 2025-26, the league will broadcast games across ESPN along with NBC and Amazon. And if TNT doesn't exercise its right to match any part of it, The Athletic is reporting the deals could be formally announced before the start of the Olympics on July 26th. Once these deals are complete, whatever shape they take, Front Office Sports reports that Adam Silver will then turn his attention towards expanding the NBA, most likely to Las Vegas and Seattle.
Yeah, and it's likely, according to The Athletic, that if Warner's Brother Discovery decides to match it, they would probably target the Amazon package.
Because the Amazon package is pretty much what TNT had, including a conference final. So if you're unfamiliar with the NBA's television product, TNT and ESPN essentially split the baby in the playoffs. And by the time you get down to the conference finals, ESPN/ABC has one conference final and TNT has the other. They switch each year, and then ABC has the finals. So under the new agreement, it looks like Amazon Prime would have a conference final. So you'd have a streaming-only conference final. I know it's good in the sense that it makes the league a lot of money. I just don't see how it's good for the fans. I don't see how it's good for you and me. I don't see how it's good for the consumer to put all of that. Like, it's one thing, the NFL put one playoff game in the first round behind a paywall. They made you subscribe to Peacock to watch Dolphins Chiefs.
Yeah.
They're going to make you subscribe to Prime. It's Prime's got the playoff game this year, right? Is it Prime? Yeah. Okay. This is an entire round of the playoffs. This is more than one game.
Yeah.
This is the conference final. This is like the final four and up to 7 games exclusively behind a paywall. I just don't see how that's good for the fans. I really don't. I see how it's good for the owners. I see how it's good for Adam Silver. I see how it's good for, theoretically, good for the players. Because if the league is making more money, the salary cap can go up. If the salary cap can go up, players can make more money. I'm all for the labor force being able to make more money in any line of work. Basketball, box making. If there is more money into the business, the labor can theoretically make more money. If they don't, that's a little thing called wage theft. But that's another story, another topic for a different show, probably. I'm all for it. I'm all for the labor force being able to make more money. But I just don't see how putting more games on streaming-only services. The NFL's already done it, and now the NBA is going to do it too. And I don't think the NBA is going to have as much success with it as the NFL has, because the NBA is many things, and I like it. That's because a fan generally of the product, at least of one of the teams that plays in the league, so I follow the league. But it ain't the NFL. It ain't the national obsession that the NFL is. And it does not have the kind of scarcity where the NFL can say, yeah, we're putting this game on Netflix. It's one of 17 regular season games that your team might be playing. You better pony up for Netflix to watch this game. People say, okay, fine. We'll pay for Netflix. We'll watch the game. I don't think the NBA is going to have similar success. I really, really don't. And we'll see. I could be wrong, but I kind of doubt that I am. Speaking of the NBA, we have some Olympic basketball news from today. Team USA will not have the services of Clippers star Kawhi Leonard in the upcoming Paris Olympics. After observing training camp in Las Vegas over the past 3 days, Clippers and Team USA officials influenced Leonard's decision to drop out from the games. That is a tortured way of saying that it was highly recommended to Kawhi, who has, of course, had an injury-prone back end to his career, that maybe if you want to win one more NBA championship before you call it good, maybe you don't need to play in the Olympics. It would have been his first Olympic trip, but according to the USA basketball statement, Kawhi had been ramping up for the Olympics over the last several weeks and had a few strong practices in Las Vegas. He felt ready to compete. However, he respects that USA basketball and the Clippers determined it's in his best interest to spend the remainder of the summer preparing for the upcoming season. His replacement on Team USA's Olympic roster has been named. It is Boston Celtics guard Derek White, who averaged 15 points and 5 assists for the NBA champions this past season. I like the addition of a guy like Derek White because here's the thing. You can load an Olympic team with star after star after star, and there are a lot of stars on this Team USA. A lot of them in probably their final go-round representing their country at the Olympics. This is probably LeBron's last Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
Almost certainly his last Olympics. It is almost certainly Kevin Durant's last Olympics. It is probably Steph Curry's final Olympic Games. Kevin Durant dealing with an injury. He might not even make it to Paris. But a guy like Derek White, if he plays 5 minutes, no minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't matter to him. He's happy to be there, and he'll do the dirty work. And basketball is still basketball. There's still only one ball. You have to have guys on your team that do the dirty work. And maybe I care about this more than the average person because I like watching Olympic basketball. I think it's really high-level basketball. I think the players really care a lot, particularly the players from other countries who had grown up watching the U.S. dominate in the Olympics and maybe grown up hearing stories of the dream team and now want to take them down and have realistic chances of taking down the United States. Like, this isn't 1992. This isn't USA versus Angola every time out. There's real competition in these Olympics. And I kind of like it when Team USA basketball wins the Olympics. I've rooted for Kobe Bryant, RIP, when he was an Olympian for Team USA because I wanted USA to win the Olympic basketball gold medal. So I'm invested in this a little bit. I like the addition of a guy like Derek White. It's also an unbelievable story. Derek White had no Division I offers out of high school. He's a Colorado kid, Parker, Colorado. No Division I offers. He played Division II basketball at the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. Transferred to Colorado for his final year of eligibility, all Pac-12, now has carved out a legit NBA career, just signed a $126 million extension. That's the kind of player that helps an Olympic team. That's the kind of attitude. That's the kind of grinder. That's the kind of, I don't care who gets the credit sort of player that Team USA probably needed. You can't have 12 of those guys. You do need stars. You do need all-time greats. You do need LeBron and Steph Curry. But Derek White will be a good fit with that team, and I think he helps make them better. So
I got one more headline.
Give it to me.
This actually an update to a story I believe you brought us at some point in the last few months. Banned NBA player Jonte Porter pleads guilty in the gambling case. I believe he can get up to 4 years in prison.
Yeah, this is the federal case.
Yeah,
this is the federal conspiracy crime that he was being charged with. So he has pled guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Sentencing on December 18th. Yeah, he's going to go to jail over this. And it is. We did talk about this earlier, and I'll reiterate the point that I made then. The fact that this is happening to a professional athlete in a major sport who got involved with gambling is good because it should dissuade. I know gambling is easier. I know gambling advertising is prolific. It's everywhere. I know the leagues are in bed themselves, and even some teams are in bed themselves with the gambling houses. But you still have to have that line, and it still has to be a very thick and very red and uncrossable line between all of that and players being involved with gambling on the games that they play and can influence. You simply have to have that red line. Otherwise, if you have any reason or room to question the integrity of the games, then why do we have the games? And if people lose faith in the integrity of the games, then that's really bad. And the leagues know it's really bad. And that's the line. That's the line that you can't cross. So you have to make an example out of people. And this is one big example. If Jonte Porter does jail time for this crime, a federal conspiracy crime to commit wire fraud, he is going to do, it looks like, some real time for this. That's going to wrap up our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. When we come back, the most interesting information we didn't get to from Big 12 Media Days Day 2, that's coming up as we continue on this Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. 5:33 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer taking you home on this Wednesday. Taking you into 6 o'clock for the Royals Baseball Network to take over Game 2 of their doubleheader today against the St. Louis Cardinals. Game 1, a 6-4 winner for the boys in blue. Their 50th win of 2023. Do you know, or 2024? Do you happen to know, Spencer, when they won their 50th game of 2023?
Yes, I only know because I had to do the network sportscast.
Because you did good research.
Yeah.
You did your job. You know, because you do your job.
September 19th of 2023.
September 19th. They won their 50th.
How many games did they had? How many games did they have left at that point? Under 10?
Like 20 some, I think. That was game 152. So yeah, no, they had 10 games.
And they did win.
Yeah, it went 6-4 down the stretch.
6-4 though.
Yeah, that win, their 50th win last year was part of a 6-game winning streak that they had. They swept Cleveland and they swept Houston back to back.
Wow.
That was weird. They also had a 7-game winning streak at one point last year where they swept Minnesota, swept New York, and won one against Philadelphia. Swept the Mets. I should specify. That wasn't that impressive last year. The Mets were terrible. Yeah, just goes to show they had 6 and 7-game winning streaks, and they still went 56 and 106. And this year they are 50 and 43, which is pretty good. They have already,
really good when your team only won 56 last year.
Relative to last year, it's incredible. It's a Disney movie. Royals already gained a game today on second place Minnesota, who lost the opener of their split doubleheader today against the White Sox. Game 2 is actually underway. I believe that is a tie score. It is. They are going to the 7th inning tied at 2. White Sox aiming for a rare doubleheader sweep. They've only got 27 wins as it currently stands.
Give me the White Sox doubleheader sweep.
Yeah, would love to see it. Would love to see a White Sox doubleheader sweep and then a Royals doubleheader sweep, and the Royals maybe starting to reel Minnesota in a little bit in the race for second place in the American League Central. We'll get to some more baseball here in just a little bit to wrap up the show, but I did want to get to a couple of things from Big 12 Media Days today. Big 12 Football Media Days wrapping up in Las Vegas. You heard earlier on the show from Lance Leipold, head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks. If you missed that, you can check out the live video stream, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Just scroll back to the 4 o'clock hour. You can catch it. Or hour-by-hour breakdowns of the show are available in audio podcast form at our website, 580wibw.com. My good pal, John Kurtz, friend of the show, friend to all, YouTuber, podcaster. He spoke with Yahoo's Ross Dellinger yesterday, or at some point during Big 12 Media Days, and released some video content. And Dellinger has told John that there have been, or has been, early conversation. That's the turn of phrase that Dellinger used. Early conversation between the Big 12 Conference and both Florida State and Clemson. Now, those are the two schools that are the angriest about where things currently stand with the ACC. They feel like the ACC, given their media rights deal, how far out their grant of rights extends, and the moves that their league has made in expansion, which again, hey, you look at it. Look at what the Power Four did last summer. You look at the Big Ten. They add Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA. 4 major West Coast brands. You upgrade football substantially by bringing in those schools. Washington just played for a national championship. Florida's a perennial playoff contender. USC isn't, but should be. And they had the Heisman Trophy winner 2 years ago. And then you have the SEC. They added Texas and Oklahoma. And maybe this is an unpopular take, but I think it won't be long before those schools feel like they were in the SEC forever. Like, there is something about both of them, especially now that, like, the SEC's had Arkansas and Texas A&M for a long time. Like, the geography makes some sense. It's not so far-fetched. But Texas and Oklahoma are 2 major football brands. Texas made the playoff last yeur. Oklahoma's been a perennial playoff contender. they join the best football league in America. SEC won in realignment. The Big Ten won in realignment. The Big 12, for their part, added consistently excellent football program Utah, marquee football program for now, Colorado. It's a Coach Prime thing, but you have to admit that Colorado right now is relevant in football, even coming off of a 4-8 season. Are there any other 4-8 programs that are as relevant as Colorado?
I don't think so.
So right now, that is a hugely relevant name in college football. Plus, 2 Arizona schools, including an Arizona team that had a breakout season last year and is going to be an AP Top 25 preseason team. They also solidified basketball with the addition of Arizona, but they strengthened their league. All 3 of those leagues got stronger. The ACC added Cal and Stanford and SMU. Did they get stronger? No. So I understand why the name football brands in the ACC, beyond the money factor of it all, are feeling a little aggrieved and getting a little antsy and looking around the college football landscape and wondering, are we just going to fall further and further behind? Because the aspiration at Clemson and Florida State is to win national championships.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the ACC is number 4 out of 4.
They're a clear number 4 right now, right? And that's not good enough for the premier football programs in that league. So Florida State and Clemson, like, they're exploring legal action. They're rattling their sabers. There's all kinds of billable hours going on. And don't know if it makes sense for the Big Ten. And the SEC might be totally happy with their 16. Why shouldn't Brett Yormark, just like he jumped the line last year and got his TV deal done before the Pac-12 could, why wouldn't Brett Yormark try and jump the line and entice Florida State and Clemson? Because you know what he can sell to Florida State and Clemson? You'll be the biggest football brands in our league. And I don't know that that's true, like, about Clemson necessarily. Like, I guess they did win a national title in the 80s, but they were not relevant on that level for a very long time before Dabo got there and started ripping off natties. Florida State, though, will always be one of those programs. And if they're wanting to leave, the Big 12 should absolutely be having conversations with them. That's a no-brainer, because that would strengthen the league. And then you know what else would strengthen the league? Like, the one school from the ACC that the other 3 leagues should be calling every day and trying to entice to join their conference, it's North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I know that they don't have the level of football success that Florida State and Clemson do. It's still North Carolina. When you never mind the football side of it, is there a bigger brand in college sports in the ACC than North Carolina, than the Carolina Blue? They got their own color, for God's sake. Carolina Blue, the jump man. That's where Michael Jordan went to school. That's the brand that every league would covet. Like, if the ACC imploded tomorrow and there were a dispersal draft of the ACC schools by the other Power 3 leagues, North Carolina would go number 1. I firmly believe that. So, early discussions is the word from Ross Dellinger, Yahoo. And he wrote a really interesting article yesterday. And I want to make sure, now that I'm thinking about it, that I pull it up. He had some reporting from Vegas yesterday. And he had some interesting quotes from some anonymous sources. What of the ACC? Dellinger writes at Yahoo Sports. The league situation is perilous enough that buzz from some here in Las Vegas centered on the conference's future as Florida State and Clemson work to free themselves. What's going on with FSU? One Big 12 head coach asked. Do you know what's happening in the ACC? An administrator inquired. Jim Phillips really has a bad situation on his hands, another added. Jim Phillips, commissioner of the ACC. Ironically enough, similar buzz transpired a year ago at Big 12 Media Day about the Pac-12. Will or can Yormark find enough financial resources to land a Clemson at Big 12 Media Day last year? There was a lot of talk about the Pac-12. There was a lot of talk about, hey, could this league add some more schools? Could they end up, the idea of adding the 4 corner schools, that didn't happen overnight. That was germinating at last year's Big 12 Media Day. So the similarities there are interesting. Dellinger also had this note that I thought was interesting in his article. As for naming rights, he writes, there is wide membership support to change the Big 12 name to the All-State 12 in a revolutionary agreement that could distribute millions more to schools. But there are plenty of complications that may blow the deal up entirely. I don't know if we ever get there naming rights for the conference, but it's interesting to hear that there is wide membership support for it, because that's a way to make millions of dollars more per year without having to cross the line and get in bed with private equity, which I firmly believe these schools and these conferences should be trying to avoid like the plague. So that's some of the scuttlebutt coming from Vegas. Also, I did want to note this. Speaking of Colorado, Coach Prime spoke today on the dais. He was actually first. If you listen to Lance Leipold's press conference, he went after Deion Sanders and made a little bit of a reference about how tough an act that is to follow. But in case you thought that maybe Coach Prime's arrogance was such that he wasn't worried about his team's week 0 game against North Dakota State, he very much is not dismissing the Bison, joking at one point that he's mad at athletic director Rick George for scheduling the game. I believe his exact quote was, "Can't we get a layup or something?" Nope, no layups, Prime. You got to go out and you got to earn it in the dirt. Week 0, go beat North Dakota State. That will not be an easy game, especially if CU really hasn't fixed their offensive line issues. We'll talk some more Big 12 football on tomorrow's show. Remember when we drafted quarterbacks? All three of us, me, you, Brendan, we all drafted Big 12 quarterbacks. We're going to draft running backs on tomorrow's show. And I got a feeling you really want to have a top 2 pick. But even if you don't, you could end up in really, really good shape in a running back draft of the Big 12 Conference. And we'll also talk about EA Sports College Football 25, their ratings of the teams and the players in the Big 12 Conference. We'll talk some more about that on tomorrow's edition of 580 Sports Talk. Right now, though, we'll take a break, come back, talk a little Royals as we wrap up 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Dan and Spencer with you on 580 Sports Talk, taking you to the 6 o'clock hour. We'll hand it back over to the Royals Baseball Network. Game 2 of the split doubleheader in St. Louis today. Game 1 went to the Royals, 6-4, down 3-0 early. How much faith did you have, Spencer, in a comeback?
I was getting a little worried.
How much faith did you have in Alec Marsh to steady the ship the way he did?
The fact that he had 8 Ks in the game, he had 8 Ks and he was able to go 6 innings, another quality start for him. And then the bullpen, wow.
Yeah, Will Smith, Sam Long, James MacArthur. I like Sam Long in the 8th. I like that. I like
set up, man.
Because when Marsh was working in the 6th, they showed double-barreled action in the Kansas City bullpen. It was Will Smith and Johnny Leverage, and I about lost my mind. Anybody but Mags first out of the pen. Anybody but John Schreiber first out of the pen. But now Will Smith clean 7th, Sam Long scoreless 8th. James MacArthur did give up the dinger to Paul Goldschmidt, but struck out 2. That was the first run James MacArthur's allowed in a month, by the way.
Crazy.
Yeah, over a month, in fact. He hadn't a lot of runs since June 9th before the Goldschmidt dinger today. And, I mean, Paul Goldschmidt's going to the Hall of Fame. He's gotten a lot of guys.
Yeah.
But it was Marsh settling down after he gave up the home run to Burleson in the 3rd. And you mentioned the strikeout stuff. He only allowed 3 hits. 2 of them left the yard, which is unfortunate. But he had really good stuff today and was able to be pitch efficient enough with those strikeouts to get deep in the game. And it runs counter to what his day-night splits had been this season.
Yeah.
Trenton did the digging on this. Marsh had a 5.08 earned run average in day games and a 2-4 record going into today, with a 4.02 ERA and a 4-2 record, and an opponent batting average over 40 points lower in night games. Contrast that with tonight's starter Michael Wacha, who has a better day game ERA this year, 3.57 to 3.79. And allows opponents to hit over 20 points better at night than he does during the day.
Which is kind of wild, because if you thought just initially, right, after yesterday's game got postponed, tonight's game was already set for 6:45. Alec Marsh was the set starter for that one, and Michael Wacha was the set starter for yesterday's game, which you would think he would just slot into the 12:45 start. Nope, didn't happen.
No, they juggled it. They didn't. They didn't pay any mind to the day-night splits, and maybe that's the right thing to do. But the deeper you get into the season, the more you wonder if maybe there's something to that. And even historically, when Michael Wacha pitched in St. Louis for 6 years of his career, he had better day game numbers than night game numbers. But they went with Marsh in the first game, and I think that was about getting your better starter against Sonny Gray, because they thought it was going to be Gray in the second game against Marsh. They thought, well, okay, we'll get Marsh in the first game if the Cardinals stick with their rotation and go Palante and Gray. Then Palante in the first game will match up with Marsh, and then we get Wacha, who's been better than Marsh this year, against their best guy. And then the Cardinals threw a curveball and said, well, what if we didn't start Sonny Gray at all? What if we saved him for Friday in the Cubs series? And what if we threw Gordon Graceffo instead?
Our 27th man.
Not to be confused with Gordon Gecko. Not to be confused when Mr. Greed is good. This is a very talented pitching prospect, really good curveball. He will be going up against the Royals lineup for game 2 of this doubleheader. Again, it will be Michael Wacha, the former Cardinal, on the bump for the Royals. Think they got a sweep in them? Sweeps are hard.
They are, but I think Walker's got that revenge mentality in him tonight.
I think he'll have a good outing too.
Yeah.
I got a good feeling about Wacha against. It's not a good lineup. It is one of the worst lineups in the National League in terms of runs scored.
Yeah.
Do not let the record fool you. This is not a good Cardinals team. And the Royals could absolutely get the sweep, and that would be huge for them coming off of that disappointing showing in Colorado to take a winning record on this trip into Boston on Friday. One final break. The final word is next on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final words. Spencer, you've got first ups.
Yeah, the Royals today came back from a 3-0 deficit, and I think they've turned the page on that rough stretch that they had a few weeks ago. They were 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position. That's good for 500 batting average right there. That's something you're not necessarily going to see all the time, right? But I think that the hitting is getting better. We're seeing improvement across the board, and the bullpen needs to stay consistently good as they have been. And, don't put John Schreiber out there in high leverage situations. They're back at it here in about 50 minutes now. And hopefully we're talking about another win tomorrow.
Final word for me today. We heard from Lance Leipold, top of the 4:00 hour today, the coach of the Kansas Jayhawks. And of course, all eyes this year for KU are going to be on quarterback Jalen Daniels. And you heard the confidence in Leipold's voice in regards to Daniels' availability for day one of this season, even though they're still kind of ramping him up for game readiness. We'll talk more about Jalen Daniels on tomorrow's show. Adam Rittenberg of ESPN did a really interesting and enlightening feature article about Jalen Daniels. But the biggest thing for KU this year, as Jalen Daniels goes, so too will the Jayhawks, because there is no Jason Bean behind who can play at a high enough level to keep things moving smoothly on that offense. It's got to be JD, and he's got to be there for 12 games. KU can be really good this year. They've got the favorable schedule. They can make a run at doing something really special. There are a lot of teams who say that in the Big 12, and a lot of them have big questions. The big one for KU is Jalen Daniels is back. Is he back? I'm excited to find out, and I hope that he is, because he's an electrifying player to watch when he's healthy. That'll do it for 580 Sports Talk today. We'll back with you from 2 to 6 tomorrow. Hope you will join us for that. Enjoy Royals baseball, game 2 of the doubleheader coming up next. From the Kansas Drive to Zero studio for Spencer Dupuis and Brendan Rosinski, I'm Dan Lucero. This has been 580 Sports Talk.